Hi there! As an agency managing influencer campaigns for multiple clients, Upfluence makes sourcing influencers and getting approval from your clients easy. This video will teach you how to involve your client in the sourcing process of an influencer campaign. If your client is actively involved in sourcing influencers and managing your campaign, the best option is to give them a seat and invite them to your Upfluence account. As mentioned in our previous video, you can easily define user permissions and access to ensure your client only sees information relevant to them. We will also review how best to keep up communication with your external clients who do not have Upfluence access. How to efficiently source influencers for your client. Ahead of sourcing influencers, there are two important things to keep in mind. First, understand your client's expectations. To assure you are aligned on brand expectations, ask your client what they're looking for from influencers in terms of their community size and storyline. We will review key metrics to discuss with your clients shortly. Sourcing influencers for your clients is simple on Upfluence. First, we will navigate to the search app by clicking the magnifying glass icon. For more in-depth training on utilizing the search feature and the amazing filter parameters we have to help you find your ideal influencers, click the Learn button in the upper right-hand corner of this app. There are a few components of our search app that are designed specifically for agency and multi-brand Upfluence users. Do you want to guarantee that you don't source the same influencer for multiple projects? We have a filter for that. Whether you're sourcing new influencers for your different clients or you're sourcing for separate campaigns for the same client, you'll want to exclude the existing influencers in your community so you aren't seeing any duplicates in your new searches. Go to the More Filters dropdown on the right, scroll to the bottom for the section titled Filter by Lists, and use the dropdown for a list to exclude. Here you can select any lists you have previously made or click Select All to prevent previous search results from showing up. To best utilize this feature, before getting started, make sure to upload any existing influencer contacts for your client so that you have all your influencer marketing in one place and there'll be no overlap. Do you want to know which metrics in Upfluence are most relevant to your clients? For Instagram, the percentage of real followers is a good starting point. I want to see over 80% for my chosen influencers. Something else to examine is the estimated price range for Instagram and YouTube. This price is calculated by the creator's location, any past collaborations, their engagement rate, and information about their audience. It will help you to determine if an influencer lines up with your campaign budget. When looking at Instagram metrics on the influencer side panel, for many influencers, you will see brand mentions. Here you can see what brands this creator has tagged most in their content and how well these posts have performed in comparison to their non-branded posts. How to share your sourcing with your clients for approval. There are multiple use cases that you can use in Upfluence when you have a client that needs to approve your source list of influencers. In the first use case, your client has access to Upfluence through their own seat. This is our recommended strategy. In the second use case, your client wants to validate your selection of influencers, but they do not have a seat in Upfluence. And in the third use case, your client wants to approve influencers who have agreed to work with their brand, or you want to share influencers who have already accepted an offer to work with your client's brand. One thing to always keep in mind is that regardless of your strategy with your clients, any approval or invitation process will narrow your selection of influencers, so source 10 times more influencers than the number you hope to actually work with. Let's dive into detail on how you will share your influencer sourcing with your clients to get their approval. In our first use case, you have a client that is very active in your campaign sourcing and management. In this case, the best option is to give them access to Upfluence by adding them to your account with their own seat. As explained previously, you can easily define their access and permissions. If you need an extra seat, you can just contact our team. After granting them a seat, your client can review your list in Upfluence and they can easily remove any influencers they dislike by pushing the Reject button. In our next use case, if your client does not have access to a seat in Upfluence, we recommend you CSV export the list you created and ask your client to delete the influencers they don't want. You can then re-upload these approved influencers to a secondary list titled Approved Sourcing. And in our final use case, you have a client that only wants to see a list of influencers who have already agreed to work with their brand. They will then make the final selection. To begin, you will create a campaign. To learn how to set up a campaign from scratch, we have another video you can watch that is linked below in the description of this video. Assuming you have created your campaign, you will import the list of influencers you sourced and invite them to the campaign by sending them an invitation email. All influencers who apply to your campaign can then be filtered in the status column. This selection of influencers can be exported to be shared with your client. In some cases, pricing negotiations will happen, so you may have to have these negotiations complete prior to sending a list of potential influencers to your client. Know that you can always edit the pricing on influencers' profiles ahead of exporting the list. When utilizing this option as a way to source influencers for a client, keep the following in mind. If your client wants full transparency, then you can CC them in on all emails. Once you know who's going forward in your campaign from your client's approval, you can shortlist and approve them. For those that you're not taking forward, click the cross and send them an email to let them know that you're not continuing with them this time. A quick note on this, it's a good idea to add text into your application email or brief that states that applying to this campaign does not guarantee acceptance. This process completely streamlines the work needed from your client, so they're only analysing influencers once they've applied and can take their fee expectation into consideration. How to keep your sourcing organised while working with other teams and different clients. As an agency with multiple team members and clients, you will rely on our community app to see a high-level view of your influencer database. The community app is where you can go to find your influencers across lists and campaigns. To organise this for different clients and projects, click the Manage Fields button. Some fields that are especially important for multi-brand clients are lists, campaigns, last note added, and last contact date. These will give your team full transparency on which influencers are involved in which project. You can further customize this view based on the fields that are most important to your individual client too. For example, if your client only sells in the US, you can add the field Audience Countries to see where the majority of your community are based. To save custom views for each of your projects, select Table Views and plus New View, easily allowing you to navigate these high-level views for all your different projects. Do you want to keep track of your team's feedback or clients' feedback on specific influencers? Upfluence facilitates the ability for you to leave internal notes on influencers and even assign custom tags that are only visible to you and your team. When you click on the influencer in one of your lists, you can see that there is a tab to leave notes. These are internal facing, meaning the influencer cannot see them. If you navigate to the Profile tab, you can add custom tags such as client approved, or to classify influencers by custom terms such as what product they would be a good fit for. Join us for the other videos in this series where we provide tips and tricks on running influencer campaigns as a multi-brand agency. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.